this interview by welcoming everyone to our estate planning meets real estate transactions, sponsored by Reliable Lien Search. Why this is so important: I deal with deficiencies all the time on properties, whether they're open permits, whether they're code violations. Um, Bill and Blade Title is an amazing law firm. They do estate planning and real estate, and how those things intersect is amazing, because you need to make sure, obviously, that you're working with the decision maker, and the decision maker has been authorized to sign a listing agreement, to sign a sale and purchase contract. So we're going to be going over some of those things. I have attorney Bill Blade here. Hi, Bill.
Hey, how are you doing?
What's going on?
Not too much. Just staying indoors these days like everybody else, I think.
I am indoors too.
I don't get on a lot of roofs, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it was a little scary being up there, and I'm told not to touch anything or go on any roofs, but I was really careful. A lot of I was feeling a lot of things under my shoes move under me, which is not good. When you're walking on a flat roof and you feel crunching like you're stepping on snow, and you feel that membrane cracking, not good.
Yeah, get
Um,
off.
it was pretty interesting what we saw. I saw because the roof was exposed and there was an atrium, and I saw loads of garbage that previous tenants left in the attic.
Wow.
When they take off the shingles, and then the metal flashing, and then the nails, and then the sheathing, you see the attic and the trusses, and you just hope none of those trusses are damaged, because then you have structural work to do on the property. But this happened to be a rental income property, and it's been a really difficult experience, getting the association and the management company to try and do the right thing. And the owner has dumped a lot of money into the property, repainting it, redoing the popcorn, and the roofing contractor and the association says, we keep doing the repairs, we keep spending money, and then you have damage, and you have mold, and you have loss of income. So, Bill, I wanted to particularly talk about what happens when you guys, being that your background is in estate, and most title companies don't have that experience. How does that differ when you guys get a file?
Well, when we get a file, if there's an estate involved, the first thing that we want to do is pull the docket. Take a look at what's actually going on in the estate. Find out who the court-appointed representative is, where they are in the process, so that we know for sure we have the right seller and that they're in a position where they can sell the property.
Are there naturally, I would think, are there ever any assumptions that people are working with the decision maker?
Several times. I mean, the most recent one I had, there were two brothers. One was up in New York. He was an attorney. He was actually the court-appointed representative. The other brother here, just because he was here, was talking to the realtor, talking to the seller, sign the listing agreement, sign the contract, and then we get to closing, and the one who actually had authority didn't want to pay a commission. He wanted a higher price, and it just got ugly because everybody was dealing with the wrong person.
And do you see any types of experience? Are there any experiences you've had dealing with family members who think they might be ill, or with COVID-19 want to make planning for the future?
Yeah, actually, we've had a lot of calls since March, and we tried to accommodate as many clients as we could, even when it was limited on whether we could see them or not. Unfortunately, if people are in nursing homes, they're locked down, or they're in the hospital, we can't get to them. They may call and ask us questions, and we can explain to them what would happen with their property if they were to pass away. But there's not a lot of planning we can do when people are in a home that's in lockdown or in the hospital. So we really need people who who aren't in those situations, and then we can help them. But yeah, I've had a big increase in people inquiring, at least as far as what would happen to their property if they passed away.
Not making the direct comparison, but I had a permit I closed a couple months ago, and the seller was incarcerated. And they were able to go, the attorney handling the situation was able to go to the jail, get the
I,
guy to do whatever he had to do. But so again,
I never have problems with people who are incarcerated. We know where they are. They have notary services. It's not a problem. They're not a problem.
so again, the key is to know who you're working with, and also and also have the people in a position or an ability where they can facilitate the process, right?
Right. Or, if people are acting with power of attorney, we see that a lot too. They're trying to take over things for parents. They're using a power of attorney. We want to make sure they know how to sign. We want to make sure if they sign a listing agreement, they do it properly. There's a lot of little things, and also that they have the power to do it. Sometimes people think they have a power, and it's not, in fact, enumerated in the power of attorney, or it's been executed improperly. There's a lot of things, and we like to look at that right at the beginning.
Sure,
so we know we're not going to have a problem, or that the realtor is not going to have a problem. Just try to nip that in the bud right off the bat.
I'm sure you get a lot of calls sometimes from title companies who don't have the estate background. Hi, Bill.
Yeah, more and more. I used to do a lot of clearing of different issues for other title companies because we had that background and they had worked with us in transactions. I don't see it as much, and I'm not sure why, but it's definitely something that we can help people with. I think part of the problem is we used to be able to do things a lot faster through the courts. Now that we can't, we don't, we used to walk everything through that we could. And it was a big advantage over some of the other attorneys that were clearing title issues, but you can't really do a lot of that anymore. So it's taken away that advantage from us. But we can still help people with it.
And what does it mean? I had one of our audience, one of our viewers asked the question to me a little bit ago. What does it mean when we have a portfolio of properties and you see the estate name differently? Like, for example, one of the estate or the trust will be on the property appraiser in so many different written ways. What does that mean?
Well, we never like to just go by what it says on the property appraiser's site. I always dig out the underlying deed, because a lot of times you can't tell from the property appraiser for sure.
Because they're just recording, they're just saying one of them's a livable revoking or a revocable trust or what type of deed it is. But I see the same trust written in the property owner so many different ways. But that's, like you're saying, that's the way that the property appraiser just put it in the system. It doesn't have any merit.
Right. I mean, one of their disclaimers on their website is you can't really use them for title evidence.
We're not bashing them. They have a plethora of information.
Not at all. They have a ton of information, but all you have to do is go down further, click on the deed itself, and actually read it. I get this a ton with enhanced life estates. The slang name is Ladybird deed. It's an estate planning tool that's really widely used anymore. And when you look and what the deed actually says is I convey my property to myself for life, and I keep complete control of it, and I can sell it, and I can do whatever I want with it, basically. But when I die, then it goes to Nicole.
Sure.
Well, Nicole has Nicole has no interest until I die. But the property appraiser will have my name, Ellie, and then Nicole's name, just because that's the way they record it when they look at the deed, because I'm the life tenant, she's the remainderman. But if you don't actually dig down and look at the deed, then they're going to want Nicole's signature when they really don't need it, and it's going to cause issues. So
and that causes issues after you, like in the underwriting issue and the title examination. So
Well,
it
yeah, this
delays.
usually gets worked out, but this is an issue early on because like the realtor who would be taking the listing for my property would say, "Hey, I need Nicole to sign it also," and I would say no, and my client will call me and I'll say no, I don't need Nicole to sell it, and the person sort of loses faith in their agent. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's
yeah,
it's it's when you want to start that relationship on a really good foot, looking like an expert, not oops, I, I didn't need that. You know what I mean?
yeah. Or oops, the house that I did sell you 3 years ago has all these open permits and problems. And even if it wasn't the agent's like fault, or I mean, there's still the relation. And I explain
Yeah.
this to agents all the time. You guys are there to facilitate the relationships, and we're there to be your tools. We're there to make to make sure all the boxes are checked off. A lot of times what I see is agents are sometimes stuck, so when they do come into a estate or a plan issue or a code violation issue, they waste many business days finding someone who can help the issue, or finding the parties who need to resolve the issue.
Yeah.
So knowing all the information up front is key, like you're saying.
I mean, yeah, that's the big thing. If you're getting transactional work, there's always going to be deals that have issues. It's just a fact of life. You want to learn how to identify those issues early, or have people that can help you do that, and then resolve the issues as quickly as possible. I mean, that's all you can do, because to think that you're never going to have a problem if you're doing transaction work is not realistic.
Are there are there ways things are handled different amongst the counties, like in your segment? Like is procedural things, or the way of getting things done?
We even have procedural things different between the judges in the different counties. So
Okay.
as far as if we have a case that we're moving through probate, yeah, we have even issues within not only within the county, but different judges in the county may have their own sets of procedures that we have to follow. So yeah, and unfortunately, some of those we've had to learn the hard way, but most of them we have now. you know,
Yeah. And
um,
and as far as hearings, timelines with getting things recorded, has any of that changed, or what do you foresee for the future?
Um, yeah, I think the clerks have pretty much done a good job, and the judges, of being able to deal with not having the in-person hearings, especially for the work that we do. Most of the time, we're getting consents from all of the interested parties. So when we get it to the judge, there's nothing adversarial. Everyone agrees that this is what should happen, as long as we can give him, the BPO he wants, he or she wants. We have everybody's consents, then they'll sign our order authorizing us to sell the property at that price. So, and we found that we can get that done now, sometimes even in less time than we could before COVID, in certain counties. So it's not bad. It doesn't impede us being able to sell a property.
I'm really experiencing the same thing, because I deal with local government, with municipalities. Um, these guys have some of the staff working at home, some in the office, but we're getting things administratively closed out quicker, resolution quicker than before March even happened. I
Yeah.
think I think it's just a matter of somewhat not having to deal with the public as much, or people working from home. But again, I know everyone says this is the new normal, but I just see, things staying the way that they are a little bit, especially in South Florida. Do you guys go out of the Tri-County area, or like anywhere else?
We do. I have one client that finds unclaimed property, and so we file little estates kind of all over the state of Florida. So
Oh, nice.
we filed in most of the counties in the state.
So this is
Um,
an investor, you
no,
looking.
it's what they do is they look through the records, they find unclaimed property that's being held with the state, and then
Correct.
they locate who's entitled to it. And a lot of times they'll need probate to prove that these people are in fact the heirs entitled to that property. And so we file cases all over the state.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And how long have you guys been doing this for?
Probably 10 years we've probably been doing that.
In general,
Wow.
for that particular client, but in
and filing those little estates all over the state. Yeah, probably about 10 years.
But in general,
Nicole Vernon, what is up?
you got to bring me to the conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We got to get Nicole in here.
We're a family-owned company for 44 years, and we've been around. We've seen it all. We've seen the highs of the market. We've seen the lows, and 2020 is no exception. And we are here to stay.
2020 is a little different, I'd say.
2020 is different, but if you look at real estate, the real estate market is still very hot.
Yeah.
If you look at estate planning, I think people are very concerned about COVID and their health. So
yeah, it's been a call to action, sort of, for sure.
It's been quite the call to action. I always tell people at their closing, if you own property, if you have children, you should be formulating an estate plan. And I think, people are doing that this year, which is fantastic. And everybody should have an estate plan. To piggyback on what Bill Blades said about Ladybird deeds, I think it's a fantastic estate planning tool for people. And it, if I'm correct, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, it helps avoid probate.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It helps avoid probate, so that's a good thing. So
and probate is a very costly, sometimes timely situation, right?
Probate.
We want to try and
probate.
Right. If we can avoid it, we seek to. As long as we can avoid it and still accomplish whatever goals the client has.
Yeah, it actually can cost your family 3 to 8% more of the estate's value. So why not pay a little bit now and do your estate planning than cost your family 3 to 8% of your estate's value?
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So. What do you suggest, Bill? Because Nicole reminds me of an interesting question. I've seen estates with 8 personal representatives. I've seen estates with I'm working with 2 people. And when I'm working with people to resolve these open permits and code violations, I'm usually on conference calls. I'm dealing with siblings. I'm dealing with many members of family, trying to build consensus. And when someone's planning this out, and from your experience, what's your advice?
I like one. Just it depends. I've worked with multiple where the kids all get everything back to me. Like I sent some documents out Friday. Two of the trustees live out of state. I got one set back today. I'll get another set back tomorrow, and then the one that lives here can sign. When we have the closing on Friday. So
cool.
It really just depends. But if one person has to sign, logistically that makes things a lot easier. But it depends. I have a lot of clients that feel like they don't want to put one of their children in charge or put all the pressure on one child, and then then we share the load, and maybe we need signatures from everybody. But it really just depends on the client, with what the client wants. Because Nicole kind of alluded to it, but basically with the estate plan, we're just trying to give people peace of mind. And when times like this are uncertain, that's when they really look for the peace of mind. So that's what we look to give them. And if they want 8 kids to be the personal representative, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I'll do it for them.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, I'd want one.
No, absolutely. And that makes sense. And are there ever times when resolution can't get met, or the court and the attorneys involved, like yourself, assist in that process?
There are. I don't do the probate litigation, so when it gets to that point, I'm typically referring them to attorneys that do litigation and focus
But you
their
usually land
litigation
the airplane,
practice.
Nicole tells me.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess with experience and understanding things, and understanding the situations, just, I guess, build consensus and bring people together, right?
right. And usually I can talk them through. It doesn't make sense to fight about some of these things. Um, you know, if there's 3 kids, each gets a third. What's the point of fighting? The fight is
Sure.
just going to make everybody's third smaller.
Correct.
So it's really in their best interest to come together and work together and do what needs to be done to administer their parents' estate. But sometimes emotion gets in the way.
I was dealing with, again, one of the children who lives closer in South Florida. The parents did an addition on their house in Addison, which is on the Boca Del Rey border. One of the children had the plans in the permit card and was local and facilitating mom and dad. And the other 2 said, "Why did you let mom and dad do this? You need to get multiple bids on the property to close the open permit, call the previous contractor." And then all this time running down, many business days, buyer loses rate lock. Both parties can't agree to an extension. So obviously we find in these transactions, it's super critical.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Time is money. The carrying costs of, who's paying the condo maintenance while they fight it out for 9 months. I mean, that alone, who's keeping it insured? It's, so usually we try to get cooler heads to prevail and are pretty successful with it. Just like I think you are, but I can't always, but for the most part we can, because it just doesn't make sense for people to do anything other.
And Nicole and I, we do a lot of education with realtors.
Yes.
And we have family members who are realtors, and we know the business. Have you ever seen like any? Have you ever seen any education being brought to agents as far as the identification or knowing if you're working with the right seller, things like that?
We put a seminar on a couple of times.
You guys did that.
We did, yeah. We put it on a few times, and that bad transaction that I mentioned earlier was kind of the impetus for it. So we showed people how to look at the property appraiser site, how to look deeper, different types of life estates, showing who would have to sign under what type of life estate, looking at the trust, who has to sign under the trust, a power of attorney, and a lot of it comes down to, these aren't documents they're familiar with, but at least if they get a copy, they can shoot it over to me and I can tell them, what they need to do or who needs to sign, and if that person actually has authority under the trust or under the power of attorney. So yeah, we have a seminar. I'd be happy to do that one again.
That would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
And
that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that I think Ben said, and I think that we firmly believe, is that we're in relational driven businesses. I think relational driven businesses with realtors, and also relational driven businesses with our clients. And so we're looking for, the easiest, most cost effective, method to make our clients happy. So I think that's, you hit the nail on the head, Ben.
Thank you so much. It was great having Bill Blade and Nicole Vernon from Blade Title Company and Law Offices today. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and feel free below to have our contacts to we're going to provide those to you, to ask us any questions, to utilize and reach out to us as resources, because we're always here for you. And thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. And please like Blade Title, and please like Boss Construction Group. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Nicole, for coming out today.
Thank you, Ben, and I challenge you all to get your estate planning done by the end of the third quarter.
Good
Challenge
challenge,
accepted.
yeah.